What if the greatest structure in ancient Egypt was never meant to be seen? Not a pyramid reaching for the sun, a testament to a pharaoh's eternal glory, but a temple deliberately sunk beneath the dark, silent waters of the Nile. A place so sacred and so profoundly dangerous that its creator, the great god Thoth himself, sealed it with an eternal curse to protect it from the world. You have been shown the ruins of Karnak, of Luxor, of Abydos. You have been told they were centers of worship, grand stages for public ritual, houses for the pantheon of gods who govern the living and the dead. That is the story you were given. The outer shell of a civilization whose deepest secrets were never carved in stone for tourists to photograph. But according to the whispers in the oldest texts, in the fragmented legends that the official histories refuse to acknowledge, there was another temple, one that predates them all, a structure that was not a church, but a laboratory, not a place of prayer, but an engine of transformation. This was Thoth's temple, and its purpose was to systematically dismantle a human being and rebuild them as a god. Inside its walls were not offerings of gold and incense, but the raw formulas of existence. The vibrational keys to manipulating time, the geometric patterns that unlock consciousness, the sonic architecture for assembling and disassembling a soul. This was not knowledge to be learned, it was knowledge to be become. But this temple is not on any map. No archaeologist will ever find it with sonar or satellites, because its sinking was not an accident of nature. It was a deliberate act of quarantine. In a forgotten age, as humanity began to fall into the dense sleep of materialism, Thoth, the architect of reality, made a choice. He submerged his greatest creation, removing it from the physical timeline, locking it away from a world that was no longer worthy of its power. And around it, he placed a curse. Not a simple spell of vengeance, but a sophisticated, sentient, and eternal defense system, a spiritual firewall that has held for millennia. Why? Why would the God of wisdom hide the ultimate knowledge? What is the true nature of this impossible curse? And what happens to a soul that is finally ready, finally pure enough to bypass that ancient ward and enter the silent, waterlogged halls where the secrets of divinity lie waiting? This is not a story about a lost building. It is a story about the knowledge that has been deliberately hidden from you and the forgotten path that leads back to your own sovereign power. To understand the temple, you must first erase the image of what you believe a temple to be. This was not a structure of carved sandstone and painted columns built by the sweat of human hands. It was manifested in a primordial age, a time the Greeks would later call the Zep Tepi, the first time, when the laws of reality were more fluid and the beings we call gods walked among mortals. Thoth, the divine scribe and master of frequency, did not build this temple. He precipitated it. He sang it into existence, using sacred sound and geometry to crystallize a structure directly from the energetic ether. The materials were not of this earth. They were chosen for their vibrational properties: obsidian that could absorb and nullify chaotic thoughts, alabaster that could amplify healing frequencies, and a central crystal, a heart for the temple that pulsed in perfect harmony with the galactic core. The entire structure was a living resonator, a massive, multi-dimensional tuning fork designed to do one thing: recalibrate a human soul. This was not a place for the masses. It was a university for initiates, the first and truest Shemsu Hor, the followers of Horus. This was not a title of blind faith. It was a descriptor of their function. They were beings who had chosen the path of conscious evolution, the path of Horus, the path of integrating the human and the divine. Within these halls, they were not taught a religion. They were taught the physics of the soul. Under Thoth's direct guidance, they learned to see the aura, to perceive the subtle energy bodies that surround the physical form. They learned to consciously exit their bodies, to navigate the astral planes, the duat, not as terrified souls after death, but as sovereign explorers while still alive. They learned that what we call reality is a consensus field, a projection of a collective frequency, and that by mastering their own internal frequency, they could alter their experience of that field and even influence the field itself. The formulas of transformation were the curriculum. These were not spells in a dusty book. They were complex, multi-layered sequences of practice. A formula might consist of a specific series of resonant tones to be chanted, combined with the visualization of a rotating geometric form, all while holding a specific, unwavering emotional state and breathing in a precise rhythm. This was alchemy of the highest order, not turning lead into gold, but turning mortal consciousness into divine awareness. They were learning to rewrite their own energetic DNA, to systematically shed the limitations of the human animal, the fear, the rage, the grief, and to activate the dormant, higher dimensional aspects of their being. They were becoming living bridges between heaven and earth, masters of their own energy, immune to the decay of time and the illusion of death. They were, in essence, learning to become what Thoth already was. But this golden age was not to last. Thoth, whose consciousness perceives all timelines simultaneously, saw the coming shift. He saw the great cosmic cycles turning, the slow descent of the Earth's vibrational field into a darker, denser age. Humanity was choosing to forget. It was choosing the path of the ego, of separation, of materialism. Consciousness was becoming trapped in the five senses, and the subtle arts were being replaced by the brutalities of empire and dogma. He foresaw that the sacred knowledge of the temple, in the hands of beings operating from fear and greed, would become the ultimate weapon. The formula for healing could be inverted to create disease. The keys to astral travel could be used for spiritual warfare. The science of manifestation could be used to enslave entire populations. The power was too pure, too absolute, for a world that was choosing impurity. He could not destroy the temple. Its energy was too deeply woven into the planetary grid, so he had to hide it in the most ingenious way possible. Not in a remote desert or on a high mountain, but in a place that was everywhere and nowhere at once. He chose the Nile, the very lifeblood of Egypt, the river that represented the flow of time itself. He did not cause an earthquake or a flood. The process was far more elegant. Through a series of powerful rituals, he commanded the elements. He instructed the bedrock beneath the temple to open, creating a deep, abyssal chasm. Then, with a final, resonant word of power, he instructed the river to change its course and bury the temple in its depths. It was not a violent cataclysm. It was a quiet, deliberate act of concealment. The waters of the Nile closed over the temple's highest spire, and it vanished from the world of men. It was removed from the physical timeline, a sacred treasure placed in a vault of living water. But sinking it was only the first step, to ensure it would remain untouched for millennia. Until humanity was ready once more, he enacted the final security measure. He placed upon it an eternal curse, a ward so powerful and so intelligent that it has held for countless generations. A silent, invisible guardian waiting in the deep. The word curse is a human term, a primitive label for a technology that operates on a level we can barely comprehend. The ward that Thoth placed on his sunken temple is not a malevolent spell designed to inflict suffering. It is a spiritual firewall, a sophisticated and sentient energetic defense system. Its function is not to punish, but to filter. It is a lock, and the only key that can open it is the vibrational signature of a perfectly balanced soul. Think of it not as a curse, but as a mirror. Any consciousness that approaches the temple's hidden location is immediately scanned. Its frequency, its intention, its deepest, most hidden motivations are read in an instant. If the seeker approaches with an energy of ego, of greed for power, of a desire to take rather than to learn, the curse uses that seeker's own energy against them. Their own chaotic frequency is amplified and reflected back at them, creating a localized field of profound dissonance. For an archaeologist with modern technology, this would manifest as inexplicable equipment failure. Sonar would return scrambled, nonsensical data. Magnetometers would spin wildly. Submersibles would lose power or be thrown off course by sudden, unnatural currents. The very laws of physics would seem to warp in the vicinity. For a treasure hunter or a sorcerer seeking to exploit the temple's power, the effects would be psychological. The curse would tap into their own inner darkness, projecting terrifying illusions, voices of madness, paralyzing fear. It would create a psychic labyrinth from which they could not escape, driving them away not through physical force, but through their own unresolved shadows. The curse does not attack, it reveals. It holds up a perfect mirror, and for a soul that is not pure, to see itself with perfect clarity is a torment it cannot endure. But for a soul who approaches in a state of ma'at, a state of perfect inner balance, with a heart as light as a feather, free from the weight of ego, desire, and fear, the curse is not a barrier, it is a gateway. To such a consciousness, the dissonant field becomes harmonic. The wards recognize a matching frequency. The mirror reflects not chaos, but serenity. To this initiate, the waters of the Nile would seem to part, the veil of illusion would thin, and the path to the silent, submerged halls would become clear. The curse, therefore, is the first and most important initiation. You cannot enter the temple to learn balance. You must bring balance with you to enter the temple. And why such extreme measures? Because the formulas held within are the operating system of the soul, the source code of reality itself. The formula of vibrational ascent is not a metaphor for feeling good. It is the literal knowledge of how to alter the frequency of your atomic structure to become less dense, to phase shift your consciousness into other dimensions at will. The formula of temporal navigation is not about remembering past lives. It is the ability to perceive time as a simultaneous field and to consciously access information and energy from any point in your soul's timeline, past, present, or future. And the formula of coherent creation, the most dangerous of all, is the science of manifestation in its purest form. It is the knowledge of how to impress a thought directly onto the quantum foam, the undifferentiated energy of the void, and have it crystallize into physical reality instantly, without the buffer of time and without the distortion of karmic consequence. This is the power to create worlds, to heal any disease, to manifest any object. In the hands of a Christ-like being, it is the power of miracles. In the hands of a fallen human, it is the power to create a hell on earth, to enslave minds, and to unravel the fabric of creation itself. Thoth did not hide this knowledge to keep humanity in the dark. He hid it to keep humanity from extinguishing its own light. It was an act of cosmic quarantine. a parent hiding a weapon from a child who was not yet mature enough to understand its true purpose. He sunk the temple, not to end the lesson, but to postpone the final exam until the students were ready. The great secret of Thoth's Hidden Temple. The reason it has eluded all modern technology and all historical record is that its location is not entirely fixed in our dimension. When Thoth commanded the earth and waters to swallow his creation, he was not just performing a feat of geological engineering. He was executing a multidimensional shift. The sinking of the temple was an act of vibrational relegation. He pushed it not just down into the earth, but sideways, in reality, locking it into a liminal space, an intersection point between the physical world and the next highest frequency plane, what some might call the lower astral or the etheric. Physically, its ruins lie dormant and silent in a deep, silt-covered chasm beneath the Nile. But energetically, it exists in a state of quantum flux, vibrating at a frequency just outside the range of our normal five-sense perception. It is here, but it is not here. It is solid, but it is also a ghost. This is why our science can never find it. Sonar passes through its energetic signature as if it were just another layer of rock. Satellites mapping the riverbed see only mud and shadow. The temple is cloaked, not by magic in the superstitious sense, but by the laws of physics that we are only just beginning to understand. The curse is the energetic field that maintains this dimensional lock. It is a constant, powerful transmission of a specific frequency that acts like a perceptual filter. To our instruments and our unattuned consciousness, this frequency translates as nothing to see here. It actively repels attention. It scrambles data. It subtly influences the minds of researchers, guiding them to look elsewhere, convincing them that the legends are just myths. It is the ultimate "do not enter" sign, written in the language of vibration. Therefore, the journey to the temple is not an archaeological expedition. It is a spiritual pilgrimage of the highest order. You cannot find it by digging in the mud of the Nile. You must first find it in the depths of your own consciousness. The search is the initiation. The process Thoth taught his original students is the same process that a seeker must undergo today to even perceive the temple's existence. It is a path of profound inner alchemy. First, one must purify the vessel, the physical body, the emotional body, and the mental body. You must clear the static of unresolved trauma, of inherited beliefs, of the chaotic noise of the ego. This is the work of shadow integration, of mastering the emotions, of stilling the mind. Second, you must learn to raise your own frequency. Through practices like deep meditation, sacred sound, and mastery of the breath, you begin to consciously alter the vibration of your own energy field. You are learning to tune your own instrument. As your frequency rises and stabilizes, your perception begins to change. You start to see the patterns behind reality. You begin to sense the energetic world that underpins the physical one. This is when the first hints of the temple might appear to you, not as a physical location, but as a symbol in a dream. A flash of geometric insight during meditation, a sudden, inexplicable pull toward the ancient wisdom of Egypt. These are the first pings from the temple's own resonant field, recognizing a potential match in your own. The final step is to achieve a state of unwavering ma'at, of perfect inner balance and coherence, where your heart is truly as light as a feather. In this state, your consciousness is no longer locked into the limited frequency of the material world. You have become the key. Only then, in a state of profound meditation or conscious projection, can you attune your inner sight to the temple's frequency. You are not finding it. You are resonating with it. And when that resonance is achieved, the curse becomes a beacon. The firewall becomes a doorway. The waters of your own subconscious part, and you are granted access. The temple is not the destination. It is the confirmation that you have completed the journey within yourself. By the time you are worthy of entering its halls, you have already become a living embodiment of the knowledge that is stored there. You do not go there to steal the formulas. You go there to be recognized by them, to have your own mastery affirmed by the silent, eternal wisdom of the architect himself. So, the legend of the sunken temple is not a story of a lost ruin waiting for a hero to discover it. It is an invitation. It is a challenge encoded in myth. It says that the most profound secrets of the universe are not hidden from you. You are simply not yet vibrating at a frequency to perceive them. It says that the greatest treasures are protected by a curse, and that curse is your own unexamined self. The journey to Thoth's temple is the journey home. A journey inward, downward into the silent depths, until you find the sacred architecture that has been waiting patiently within you all along. The ultimate truth is not carved in stone beneath a distant river. It is encoded in the very fabric of your being. The temple is a mirror, and the curse is the fog that covers it. Clear the fog, and you will see not the face of a god, but your own. The search for Thoth's Hidden Temple is not about discovering a lost ruin in Egypt. That is the literal, surface-level interpretation for a mind that still thinks in terms of place and time. The true search is for the lost architecture within your own soul. The temple is a blueprint, a symbol for the perfected state of human consciousness, a reality that exists within you, submerged beneath the muddy waters of your own fears, your inherited beliefs, and your conditioned ego. The formulas for transformation are not carved on distant walls. They are encoded in the energetic DNA of your being, waiting to be activated. The eternal curse that guards the entrance is not an external force. It is the noise of your own undisciplined mind. It is the weight of your unresolved emotions. It is every lie you have ever told yourself about who you are and what you are capable of. It is a firewall built of your own limitations. You have spent your entire life being taught to look outward for power, for wisdom, for salvation. You have been told to follow priests, to obey kings, to trust experts. The entire system is designed to convince you that the temple is somewhere else, that the key is in someone else's hands. That is the greatest deception of all. Thoth did not hide the temple to keep you from your power. He hid it in the one place he knew you would be forced to find yourself, within. The journey to the temple is the entire point. The process of stilling the mind, of purifying the heart, of mastering your own energy, that is the transformation. You do not find the temple and then become divine. You become divine, and then you find the temple. It is the final confirmation, the reflection of the work you have already done. So, do not wait for an expedition to be funded. Do not wait for a scholar to decipher a forgotten map. The map is your own nervous system. The compass is your own intuition. The path is the silent, often difficult, work of self-mastery. It begins with a single, honest question. What am I unwilling to look at within myself? That is where the curse holds its power. Every shadow you refuse to face, every truth you avoid, every emotion you suppress is another stone placed on the entrance to your own inner sanctum. To begin the journey, you must begin to remove the stones. You must be willing to descend into your own inner Nile, into the dark, murky waters of your subconscious, and face the creatures that live there. Your fear is not a monster to be slain. It is a guardian to be understood. Your anger is not a sin. It is a source of power that must be purified and directed. Your grief is not a weakness. It is a testament to your capacity to love, and it must be integrated, not exiled. This is the alchemy that Thoth taught. It is not about turning metal into gold. It is about turning the leaden weight of your own suffering into the golden light of enlightened awareness. And the tools are simple, but not easy. The breath, used consciously, is the key that stills the waters. Meditation is the light that allows you to see in the dark. Integrity, the unwavering commitment to your own truth, is the force that dissolves the illusions. You do not need to join a secret society. You are the secret society. You are the keeper of your own flame. The question is not whether you can find Thoth's temple. The question is whether you have the courage to search for it in the one place it has always been. Because the ultimate curse is not the one Thoth placed on a building. The ultimate curse is to live an entire life believing you are small, believing you are powerless, and never even beginning the search for the magnificent divine temple that lies sleeping within you. The waters are deep. The silence is profound, but the architect is waiting.